Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the Play Arts Kai variant Boba Fett. This is one that a lot of people have been super excited about, myself included, and I'm going to say right off the bat, it lives up to the excitement. There might be a few tiny things worth mentioning that are problematic, but by and large, it's just as good as Vader. It's a really, really nice figure. Before we get into the figure, though, let's take a quick look at the packaging, because I know a lot of you guys like to see the Play Arts packaging. His variant packaging is not nearly as good as like the Iron Man or the Wild West Batman. It's a little more standard looking, but it's still a really nice package. Nice artwork nonetheless. And then on the back you can see some various poses, and then the helmet in the background looks pretty cool. So standard packaging, it comes with the standard Play Arts Kai display stage, and so now we can take a look at the figure. He stands roughly just shy of 10, well, about 9 3/4 to the top of his helmet, and then to the top of his little scanner thingy or whatever that is, about 10 inches. And then that in centimeters to the top of his helmet, about 24.5. So it definitely has some decent size to him, and he has really nice coloring. It's just a very appealing figure. They did a good job with the composition, I think. It's very classic Boba Fett, but then still has also the new aesthetic, so I really do like that. Let's talk about accessories now. We already mentioned the display stand. So he comes with this, which is just a little clear acrylic support for his flamethrower, which is really nicely done. I love the way they did the flame with the white shading in there and then the extra bright orange on the tips. It looks very cool. I love the sculpt work on there, and you can just peg this in to this and it gives it some support. I'm not going to peg it in now because you don't really need it. He can pretty much hold it up on his own, and all you do to use this is you pop off this piece right here on his forearm, and then you pop this piece on. And like I said, you can pretty much balance him without the support, but if you do want to use it, it's kind of heavy in some poses, but you should be fine nonetheless. So it's really nice looking. Once you get him posed up, it looks really cool. So one of my favorite accessories easily right there. Let's get that off though, so that we can talk about the rest. He has some interchangeable hands, of course. So you can see here we have a fist hand for either side. We also have these gun hands, trigger finger hands, one for either side. And then we have loose hands, just for the style poses, of course. So that's pretty cool. We get a gun, a larger gun, which is this one. Lots of variation in the paint. It looks really nice, nicely detailed, nicely sculpted. Good piece. We get this gun, which goes in the holster on the back of his belt. A little more standard looking classic style pistol. We get two knives that go in his boots. So we get one for this side and one for this side, and he can hold these in his gun hands, which is kind of standard for Play Arts. Though I do wish he came with hands just for that. So we get those, and then we get blast effects for his jetpack, which are really nicely done. They're translucent, they have some orange shading here, and then they get to this purplish silver, and those just peg in right here. So if you want to make him using his jetpack, you can do that, and that metallic look is really cool. So we have a pretty decent spread of accessories. I like those. I think it's a nice amount. I don't think we really need any more, and I think it's probably what we need, so that's good. And as far as the paint goes, everything is really, really nicely done. The greens and the reds and the yellows are all metallic. The gray is not metallic, so that it looks like a cloth underneath. We have some bronze colored here for the belt. Some various paint applications for this. This is a little bent right now, but a little hair dryer or hot water will fix that, so no worries. And then we have this, which is kind of like a flat paint job with like a really worn look for the cloth. They did a good job with that. It's kind of a tannish, greenish, brownish with the lighter colors there for fading. Looks really nice. All around, very well done. And we do get a little bit of like the battle damage paint job, but then we also get the sculpted parts, like you can see here, where it's actually painted and sculpted to look like battle damage. And it does look really good. The visor is a gloss black, so that looks nice. The gold has some nice shading on it in addition to the battle damage, and then you get the logo right there on his shoulder that looks really good. So all around, very nicely done. The sculpt on this guy, super good. I think everything on this I like. And some people were saying when he first came out that the head looks too small. I really don't think it does. In person especially. In some of those photos it did, but for all we know he was standing at an odd angle, or the photo had the wrong focus, I don't know, but I think it looks pretty good. If you look at the size of the body to the size of the head, maybe the head could be a tiny bit larger, but it doesn't take away anything from the figure, and I'm perfectly okay with it. So, I wanted to point out, we also have these little lights on here that are shaded to make it look like they're actually glowing. So that's a really cool feature. There's a little bit of overspray, and it's obviously intentional. And it makes them look like they're lit up, so that's pretty good. It looks really nice. Okay, let's talk about articulation. First, let's get this out of the way. The little capey thing is connected up here. It's not my favorite part of the figure. I do wish it was kind of more seamless, so to speak. Instead of having the joint that sticks out, maybe this be where the joint is. But you can tuck it under or move it around so it looks like it's blowing in the wind. However you want to do that. It's just a little bit awkward, but it is our standard ball hinge, so we can move it around and swivel it and hinge it and pretty much do whatever you want with it. Make it blow that way, whatever you want to do, so it's not a problem. I think it might have been executed a little bit better, but it's still just fine. For the head, we have our standard double ball peg inside the head and then at the bottom of the neck, so you can move the head around pretty much however you want to. Of course, because the helmet is on there, it's a little bit limited on the top of the neck, but the neck itself moves around just fine, so you really shouldn't have any trouble posing this guy. I haven't had any problems at all. For the shoulders, all of the shoulder pads are a softer material, so even though they look like they're going to get in the way, you can still get pretty good range. Of course, that is there, so it will get in the way of the head potentially, but they have to have it go somewhere. You still get good range. So we have the ball hinge in there that gives us the swivel this way, the hinge this way, and then the peg allows the shoulder to swivel around that. We also get a bicep swivel down below, so you should be able to pose this guy really no problem at all. And this is a soft plastic, so it won't get in the way, but it will look good pretty much all the time. We have our standard ball hinge right here, so it swivels in the bicep and the forearm. A little bit better than 90 degrees, so that's good, and it does hide the joint fairly well. Same type of joint for the wrist. For the upper torso joint, we have that newer design, which I'm still not sold on, but it works okay for this guy. You can see the hinge in there, hopefully. Maybe you can't. There it is. You have a hinge at the top and then a ball peg at the bottom. So you do get actually a pretty good range of motion, and you don't get any gapping until you get them all the way back. Leans pretty far forward, side to side. Really, really posable, and it looks pretty good in just about any pose. So they did a really, really nice job with this. Lower torso is the standard ball peg. Moves around pretty well, and you don't really get any gapping until you bring it all the way around. And even then, it's not a real big problem. So really nice range of motion. The floating crotch piece hides the gapping pretty well. Nicely proportioned. It's not a super big floating crotch piece like we've seen on some other figures. It works nicely. And then for the legs, we have to account for the lower torso. If that's in the way, you can't move the legs as much. And they still are somewhat limited, bringing them out side to side. Of course, that could be better, but I think the sculpt does look really good, and I guess that's probably why we're limited some. So it's kind of a trade-off, but we can bring them forward pretty well, no problem there, and it looks pretty good still. And then it's just that side to side that's pretty limited. We do get a thigh swivel in there. Doesn't have the greatest range, but it's probably enough. The knees, nicely done for the knees. Obviously, we still have some issues with the Play Arts knees, but I think for the most part these are pretty good. I'm alright with them, and the knee pad kind of hides it, so that's okay. And then for the ankle, we have the standard ball hinge again, so you can pretty much rotate the foot around for an ankle rocker like that, or bring the foot pretty far forward or back. You really shouldn't have too much trouble posing this guy unless you want to make him do the splits. Everything else is definitely enough range to get him in a decent pose. And he just looks so cool standing there, even if you're not a Fett fan. You guys know I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan, but I'm just going to get the named characters, I think, for the Play Arts line, though I will be reviewing the Trooper. I didn't actually buy it for myself. I'm really pleased with this guy, and it's kind of like Vader, where I said maybe if you're a huge Fett fan, you're not going to like the new design, but I think you probably will. I absolutely love it. I think it looks really, really cool. Still looks like Fett, but definitely has a new flair to it. So there you have it, guys. I definitely recommend this. Make sure you stick around for some photos here at the end, and subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.